I refused to continue providing free childcare to my stepdaughter because they don't respect me.
Respect my authority.
I did a work program with a local clerk of the court's office when I was in high school. They hired me when I graduated, and I had my 30 service years before I turned 50. With 30 service years, you can get your full pension at any age. By the way, this comes from user PainComfortable8891, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, I worked until my first grandchild was born. Then I retired to be grandma daycare. I have 5 grandchildren, 8-year-old male from my stepson, 7-year-old male from my son, 5-year-old female, and 18-month male from my daughter. That is 4. So, I babysat all of them with no issues or complaints. I still keep the 18-month-old Monday through Friday and the older ones summer and school holidays. My stepdaughter and her boyfriend have been nonstop drama since before the baby was born. When she was 10 weeks pregnant, they presented a 3-page list of rules for when I was babysitting.
3 pages.
They said if I didn't sign it, they wouldn't allow me to babysit. I said that I understood their need to do what was best for their baby, and I assured them that there would be no hurt feelings on my end when they made other childcare arrangements.
So OP was like, that's cool for a different babysitter. I'm not going to help out.
They're like, hey, you can go ahead and do that whenever you want when it's not me. So some of the rules were almost understandable, but most were downright ridiculous, and none of it was going to work for me.
Oh, I'm so excited for these examples.
Yeah, I don't remember them all, but some examples are, I can't take the baby anywhere without their permission. I can't watch more than one additional child while babysitting. I can't cook. I had to provide the full name, date of birth, and address of any potential visitors ahead of time for their approval of the person being around their child. They have to know anytime I have a guest over and know who it is and how long they stay, which honestly, that seems normal. My 9-year-old cat would have to be kept out of the rooms where my baby would be, even when the baby wasn't there. I couldn't get another pet without their agreement.
Real quick. Overbearing, some may say. Overbearing, some may say. However, it is your child.
True.
And so if that is what you want, feels valid. Also, if OP doesn't want to abide by those rules, that seems also valid of like, that's too much for me. I don't have the capacity to follow all of that.
Yeah, you just say,
like,
hey, you should free probably to find someone
different sitter.
When she was 7 months pregnant, she came back with some revised rules in an attempt to compromise. I again let them know that their expectations were just not going to fit within my life and they should just find another childcare solution. 2 days after my stepdaughter went back to work, she called and asked if I could keep Cullen the next day, which I'm assuming is the baby. I agreed, but made it clear that I was going to provide safe, appropriate care according to my judgment, and I wasn't going to deal with the complaints or whatever that I was violating their rules because I wanted it very clear that I was not agreeing to any of that. My stepdaughter was okay on the days she picked Cullen up and dropped him off. I felt like she was interrogating me every time she picked him up, but it was tolerable. Her boyfriend, however, was downright rude. It got to the point where I actually spent Sunday dreading the start of the week because of dealing with both of them, but especially his behavior. At minimum, he'd pick up Cullen, make a big deal of partially undressing him, make at least one snide comment about my cat, or if I had any grandchild over besides the 18-month-old, or if I had cooked or whatever, which is weird not allowing the cooking.
I don't get that part.
I think if it's clear, if the child has an allergy or potentially could develop an allergy, that's one thing. If they have food allergies, that's one thing, but like just being like no cooking.
No, you can't cook in your house.
Maybe they just know like grandma sucks at cooking. That might be, that might also be
my child does not want your cooking.
Then he would say, I guess we don't have any choice but to put up with this for now. Or I guess you are happy that you won. This went on for 4 months. I spoke to my stepdaughter several times about it and told her that obviously they are very unhappy with how I cared for Cullen and that they should really work on finding something else and that in the meantime, he needed to be less vocal about it. It would get better for a day or two, and then he'd start again. It all came to a head as Thanksgiving was approaching. He was very verbal about the fact that he didn't want me to keep all my grandchildren over the break.
I just remembered a very sad, tragic tale.
Oh, what is it?
I remember when a young Samuel Donner, he wanted to join the cool kids, but instead of labeling you as one of the cool kids,
they called me Salad Boy because I ate nothing but salads. Could not trade my lunch for a lunch.
Cheese
really anything.
You know what community will always welcome you you with open arms, Sam.
And make you feel like a cool kid?
The great people who have OK Storytime memberships.
Oh, I heard that 60 plus hours of members-only content Monday, Wednesday, Fridays.
You heard right, Sam. And it's only $5 a month.
So go to the link in our description, youtube.com/OKOP show/join. Now back to the story.
Chomp, chomp.
I made it very clear that there would be a couple of days that I had all of them and that they needed to make other arrangements if they had a problem. They didn't make other arrangements. And when he picked Cullen up on the first day that I had all my grands over, he was very rude, and although nothing happened, everyone was happy, clean, and fed, and they had a great day. He said to Cullen that he was sorry that they had no choice except to leave him in an unsafe situation to be neglected.
Oh my God. And now they're bringing the kid into it.
Hey, knock, 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 knock. Hi. Get a different arrangement, dude. Hey, get something else if that's how you feel. So I called my stepdaughter that night, relayed to her what was said, and told her that she had 2 weeks to make other arrangements and that she needed to drop off and pick up Cullen during those 2 weeks. And if her boyfriend came to drop him off, I would refuse to keep him. And if he picked him up, I would not be keeping him again.
Put the camera on me. Put the camera on me. Zoom it. Okay. Someone on Reddit with actually healthy and communicative boundaries. Yes. I love to see it. It fills me with joy. Fills me with joy.
It's
OP,
joyous. It's a joyous occasion.
Inspiring after all these stories of unhealthy boundaries.
Boom.
Porous.
Boundaries set. So, things were better only dealing with her. At some point, she asked me if I would keep him until January because they found someone, but he couldn't start until then, and I agreed. She picked Cullen up and dropped him off, and everything was fine. New Year's Day, several people sent me a screenshot of a post her boyfriend made on social media about how thankful he was that they were finally able to leave Cullen without worrying about his safety or him being neglected. He didn't outright name me or accuse me of anything specific, but anyone who knows us knows I was keeping him, and the post implied plenty.
Wow.
I was just happy it was over.
Wow.
Like, okay, so trash. This guy's trash. That's
So
a trash thing to
he
do.
essentially,
Someone who's
like-
taking care of your kid. And if you really feel like that, then it's on you actually for keeping him in this situation. Hi, this is your fault. All of this is your fault then.
This person went out of their way to take care of your child because you couldn't figure that out. That's not on you, but you couldn't, and so you needed someone to take care of your child and be uncomfortable with your passive aggressiveness the whole time. And then after the fact of this person going out of their way to be kind and to take care of your child, you're gonna publicly out them essentially, or allude essentially.
Not even like low key
to
too,
them
because
being-
they weren't named outright. It was just like like I'm so glad.
Yeah,
And it's
more
like,
just more
you
passive
know,
aggressiveness. But
just,
now it's publicly online,
subliminal.
and then also wild accusations of if he actually used the word neglect.
Yeah, exactly. That's
not something you just play around with.
Right.
Those words.
So I was just happy that it was over. Friday, she called me and said that their new childcare provider had told her that Cullen wasn't a good fit and that she couldn't bring him back Monday. She asked if I would start keeping him again. I told her that I was sorry for their situation, but I really don't feel comfortable keeping him. My husband and stepson both think I should watch Cullen under the agreement that Amanda drop him off and pick him up because they think her boyfriend is the big problem and that I should just do it for Cullen's sake. My stepson also commented that I'd probably be more willing to let it go if it had been a conflict with my daughter's husband. My pension is about $4,000 a month plus continuation of my health insurance. That's about 40% of our take-home income, if that matters. Am I the a-hole for refusing to start watching Cullen again? I would say no.
Not at all.
Alex would also say no. We have some relevant comments. Let's get into them. Commenter 1, not the a-hole. No, you shouldn't put yourself through this, quote, for Cullen's sake. Cullen will get cared for regardless. There's no need for you to set yourself on fire because your stepdaughter and her boyfriend can't behave like normal human beings. Your husband and stepson are welcome to offer free childcare and put up with this treatment if it's important to them. But you've done your time. Learn from that experience and don't let yourself be put in the same situation again. Commenter 2, replying to this, for real, she is an ideal grandma and deserves a lot better than whatever this is. OP replies, I don't know about ideals, but my mom was my rock, and her helping with my kids helped so much financially. My kids had such an amazing relationship with her. I wanted to do that. for my children and grandchildren. Does OP's stepdaughter and the boyfriend earn enough to have a parent stay home with their child? OP says they make roughly the same salary, so doubt they could afford either to stay home, and I doubt that's what he wants. I don't meddle in their affairs, but they seem to spend a lot of money relative to their salaries. I really don't know what goes on in their house. She and I aren't close, so she wouldn't confide in me if there was a problem, but I don't think he's abusing her. Looks like your stepson should find a new babysitter then, given you're always showing so much favoritism to your biological children. OP says he is the oldest. I literally retired to watch his child for free. I could have just kept working and waited until my biological children had babies if that was how I felt. Yeah, that was a ridiculous comment. How is OP's relationship with her stepdaughter? OP says my stepdaughter has lots of very big emotions when her dad got serious with me. Her parents had been divorced for years, but were still angry at each other and didn't exactly co-parent well at the time. I was unfortunately the person she lashed out at the most. I worked in the clerk of court's office and took lots of free evening family court classes. They are such a great resource and so many people sat through them, court-ordered, but completely disengaged. I've had lots of practice and professional help setting behavioral expectations and boundaries with her.
It shows. You
Truly.
are a model for us all.
Professional.
Joyous to hear you setting healthy boundaries.
And Alex, we have an update.
Please.
Let's dive in. The mic just uppercutted my chin. Okay.
Damn, that's what happens when you dive in.
Sorry for everyone who heard that poof. Okay. Update first. First, let me just address the common suggestion that Amanda's boyfriend is purposefully sabotaging their childcare to trap her at home.
People make wild.
Yeah, look, we all get on our conspiracy theory train.
People,
right?
this
Every
is
once in a
people
while.
on Reddit.
They make roughly the same amount of money and can't afford to lose half of their income. So I seriously doubt he wants her to stay home. Second, I would never tell my stepson to find someone else to watch his child because of a simple difference of opinion. My grandson and I have a very close bond. He's the oldest, and it would break my heart and his if he didn't come spend his holidays and summers with me. Plus, he's a huge help with the littler ones when I have them all and things get hectic. I would never be so petty as to make him and all my other grandchildren suffer because of an adult disagreement. So I sort of asked around about why they were dropped by their new sitter so quickly. Apparently, they weren't.
No.
I see you in the chat.
my
I see
heart.
you in the chat.
My heart.
Amanda picked up Cullen and dropped him off both days he went, and everything was lovely. He did cry quite a bit, but they expected that to get better as he adjusted to not being held as much. My husband and stepson talked to Amanda, and she said that they realized that they can't afford daycare. They already made the, quote, easy changes, like packing a lunch and giving up fancy coffee, and his dad and her mom are both giving them about $100 a month towards childcare, and they can barely afford it. But they didn't realize that you have to send everything the baby needs. I buy diapers, wipes, formula, bottles, extra clothes. They just hand me the baby. They didn't realize that daycare didn't cover all of that. Also, imagine her boyfriend's surprise when he found out what the staffing rates are in this very expensive daycare. One adult cares for 5 infants. I guess he thought that someone would provide one-on-one care, diapers, wipes, and formula for $350 a week. My stepson relayed their almost apology. They felt overwhelmed by an infant and couldn't imagine that someone else could manage that plus other things. Cullen is going back to daycare tomorrow. Cullen's dad is selling his dirt bike, and Amanda is selling some designer clothes, handbags, and shoes to cover the costs. It'll get easier for them in 6 months when he transfers to the 1-year-old class, which is a little cheaper. And we have some relevant comments, but before we get into those,
Wow.
what a beautiful wake-up call for the boyfriend, and to a lesser extent, the daughter, the stepdaughter.
To know how good you had it with your grandma.
Yeah.
And how awful you were to her. And also, you lied to her because you wanted to cover your butt and be like, we're coming back, but it was not,
I think
it
that was
wasn't
more for their pride more,
Yeah.
Because it's like,
Or maybe
it just didn't work out. It wouldn't work out with their schedule.
or maybe in
Instead of
like
being
negotiating abilities of to not acknowledge that the grandma was the only option and be like, oh yeah, that didn't work out.
Well, I think it's probably like a whole mixture of stuff. It's the money and that, and then probably also the fact that they were so adamantly like, you can't be watching any other kids. And then they realized that every daycare, multiple kids are watched by one person. And they're like, so I'm going to have to pay, $500 for this? With plus, and I have to provide all of the baby materials.
You know who the real villain in here is?
Babies.
Capitalism.
Oh, I mean, yes, capitalism.
If you could just let people take their babies to work, problem solved.
If we could let the babies work.
Oh, now you're onto
and
something.
now we're solving two problems at once.
Make the babies work, and everyone else retires, and we just have baby workers.
So the babies are working, and then the retirees are just carrying the babies.
Oh, okay. So they're caring for the babies as the babies work.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and watching like YouTube brain rot.
Yeah.
To be clear, we do not support child labor
We do not.
on this podcast. Okay,
Explicitly.
okay.
That was a joke.
To make it clear, after the bit, post bit. All right,
Post bit fallout.
post bit clarity. We don't support child labor.
That was
Next,
hilarious.
relevant comments.
Wow.
Let's
The
go.
post bit clarity hit hard.
Commenter 1, good on you, OP. If your husband brings it up again, tell him he can pay for his grandson's childcare as you had been publicly accused of neglect and will not take on legal risk for caring for Cullen anymore, which is facts. OP, we agreed when they were cutting up that he wouldn't give them any money towards childcare. Commenter 2, so not only are they myopic and ungrateful and condescending, but they're also dishonest. Amanda lied to her stepmother when she told her that they had been asked to leave, that it wasn't a good fit, and their last day would be Monday at the daycare. Wow, I am so glad OP didn't back down and let them bring Cullen back. OP says, I will never babysit him again. I will not watch him in a house. I will not watch him with a mouse. I will not watch him in a box. I will not watch him with a fox.
Bars.
I will not watch him here or there. I will not watch him anywhere. And I do not like green eggs and ham.
I do not.
Commenter 3 asks for info. Is Amanda's boyfriend even the least bit contrite that his entitlement and unreasonable attitude has cost his family money they can clearly not afford? If not, has any of this lifted the haze from Amanda's eyes that this guy is a good partner to support her and their child through all of life's ups and downs? For
Some
heaven's sake,
good
they had
questions.
free childcare at their disposal and they doo-dooed all over OP. Talk about crapping the bed. OP says, I really can't say. My stepson and husband spoke to Amanda and possibly him and relayed the message. I haven't spoken to them directly since I found out Amanda lied about Cullen being kicked out of daycare. I honestly don't care if he's sorry or not at this point. Being sorry that you got caught and have a consequence is different than reflecting on your own actions and realizing that you were wrong and have real remorse. Bars. Let that sink in, everybody. When people say sorry just because they got caught, it cheapens the apology. Moving on. If he ever gets to that point, we can have a heart-to-heart. And where are the stepdaughter and her boyfriend's parents' involvement in Cullen's care? OP says her mom and dad both work full-time. His dad works full-time. No idea about his mom. OP can set up boundaries when it comes to caring for her grandchildren. OP says when you are providing free childcare, you can allow whatever boundaries you want.
Dang straight.
Exactly. It's
Dang
free
straight.
childcare.
Dang straight.
It's free childcare. I'm not texting anyone about a short trip to the store. If that's a condition they have, they're more than welcome to make other arrangements for their children that do not involve me.
Yup.
And that is the end of that story.
Cool.
Which
My tension was waning.
which is crazy because even though we're at the end of this story, I still have to tell you guys that you can listen to full episodes of stories like that
Where?
on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from. All you got to do is search OK Storytime.
Really?
And there it is.
Like right now?
And there it is, folks.
Like right now?
You could go do it right now while you're watching this live stream. You could go on another device and stream a different episode of this podcast
I want you to double tap.
and listen to one in
If the-
each ear.
If the babies are putting in the work at their baby jobs, I want you to be able to put in your YouTube job
At their
and listen to
perfectly
2
acceptable baby
episodes.
jobs, stacking blocks on top of each other,
Mhm.
playing with
playing,
Legos,
playing with toys.
playing with that's why once the adults go above the age of 99, they're not allowed to play with Legos anymore.
Doesn't work
So
out.
they have to get the children involved to help them play with the Legos.
Exactly. It's a symbiotic relationship.